how are you? Just over on Instagram saying this was the week that we were bringing back SHOWBIZ.
Yeah, Gabby.
Because we used to do the SHOWBIZ videos quite a bit, didn't we? But got a bit overwhelmed with how much content we actually make. But we were actually going to record one today, and then the tragic news of Sinead O'Connor.
Well, we were going to talk about Kevin Spacey.
That's
what we were going to talk about. And then literally I was just having a bath, having gashed my forehead, which you'll find out about. And the tragic, it just literally came through just very simply. Sinead O'Connor died at 56.
It's weird because when you said it to me, I really was like taken aback.
Yes.
I was really taken aback because I think we've kind of watched in slow motion. It's like been watching a slow motion car crash, hasn't it? And is there any way to take that off? I find it so distracting. And I mean, God, obviously 18 months ago, her son took his own life. Totally tragic. And I have to say, at the time, we talked about that, didn't we? And said we were just so shocked because her mental health had been so bad. And I think she'd made attempts, or there was talk that she'd made attempts. So
she had, I think, in her 30s. She tried to take her life.
Out of the blue, that her son went first was such a shock. And also, I didn't realise she has 3 other children. She leaves 3 children.
So there's been no announcement. There's been no formal announcement on what the cause of death was. I think this is one of the terrible things about a story like this is that when you know someone has been struggling with their mental health, I don't know if you remember, she sort of declared that she was diagnosed with bipolar, and then she subsequently said that it wasn't bipolar. It was actually menopausal. She said it was a hormonal imbalance that was actually the cause of her upset. And probably the truth of it all was it was probably a bit of both. And she'd had such a sort of traumatic childhood. She was in one of the Magdalene nurseries.
I was just reading. These what are they called? Where nuns, convents, where all these babies were. Oh, anyway, that's another whole tragic story. But she was put into one of those at 15, was it? Having said that, she was put in there for stealing, but she has spoken about how she had a very difficult childhood with her mother, and it just breaks both of our hearts. As you say, it's not totally confirmed yet, is it, how she's died?
I mean, I'll never forget the moment, that staggering moment. Do you remember the simplicity of her video? Nothing compares to you.
Oh,
it was just her face, and it was so even by
beautiful.
Today's standards, it would be considered quite a radical way to do something.
She was so exquisitely beautiful, and the pain. I think that's why, because I haven't followed her music or anything really past that song, but I think that's why the sadness in that face and what she emitted has always stayed with me.
Yes. Well, I mean, many years ago, so it must have been around 90, let me just think about this, between 96 and 1999, I had the opportunity to interview her and Chrissie Hynde at the South Bank.
Chrissie Hynde.
Chrissie Hynde was absolutely lovely. And I was introduced to, and she was really, like a superstar. She was like massive, Sinead. She was like, and there was, because she had this sort of slight punk narrative, skinhead, you knew that she was incredibly opinionated. We did that classic thing of thinking she's going to be quite a sort of angry person, or, she presented as quite impassioned and dedicated and all this. And then I was sat in front of her, literally, and she was sat back, and I met the calmest, quietest, most gently spoken, fragile. She was so fragile. Anyway, so I can't remember. We must have been talking about what she was doing, something either with Chrissie Hynde or something. And it was a 15-minute chat. She was incredibly sweet. No. I was just with Sinead, and then I did something with Chrissie. And she was just absolutely charming. And the reason it stands out to me amongst all those other, we used to interview loads of people, was precisely that thing which the Amy Winehouse documentary did. It was such a contradiction to something that we all thought of her. Do you know what I mean? So it really stayed with you.
Everything you've just described there is exactly what I got from that video. That's exactly the way I've always thought about her.
Incredibly fragile, and incredibly thoughtful.
When you think of the the mental pain that she's gone through over so many years, and she's been tweeting terribly sad stuff, hasn't she?
Well, let's have a look. Her last message on Twitter was really, really, really tragic. Let me just find it. Sorry, this
is what she'd said about ever since her son had died 18 months. Was he 17?
He was 7. No, I think he was 50. Yeah, 17. No, he was 17. Sorry, it's just up here in the state. Her final social media post, she tweeted a picture of her late son and wrote this: "I've been living as undead night creature since. He was the love of my life, the lamp of my soul."
No, don't. Oh, God.
So, you know, I mean, how do you recover? How do you recover from
and her
something
other
like that?
children. I had no idea she had other children.
Well, I mean, we don't know. I mean,
3 others.
We don't know. You know, it hasn't been. Well, no, we don't know the exact nature in which she died.
No.
I mean, you know, I mean, the terrible tragedy of it is that if, say, it was something like an overdose or something like that, for me, addiction really is a kind of slow motion suicide. You know, I remember when, what's the name of the lovely American actor, sort of slightly tubby guy who died in New York? Do you remember he took all the heroin? He was in the bathroom and it was an overdose, and it was described as an accidental overdose. But the thing about addiction is that I've always said it is suicidal activity in slow motion. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, we can't show you them because we're not on StreamYard, but these are some of the last pictures of her taken. There are some pictures if you go to The Sun, but other papers have it too. Last pictures of her as she accepted a music award in Dublin. And, you know, and she went through so many didn't she? She sort of ricocheted from all these struggles. Philip Seymour Hoffman, thank you so much, Tina. She ricocheted between all these kind of trying to find sense. And this is the thing that really breaks my heart. So many people who struggle with their mental health, become addicts, take their lives. This is something that we were talking about not that long ago. Sensitive people in this world, highly sensitive people in this world. This world is really very, very difficult for highly sensitive people. And just in that brief moment I met her in her public profile, and if you just look at the kind of yo-yoing of activities and sort of outbursts and stuff that have happened in her life. She was banned from Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you remember that. You know, you feel that she was deeply sensitive.
Do you remember that interview that we saw with somebody? When she went quite in depth about her mental health.
Sinead?
Yeah, and we were... At the time, we really felt quite annoyed because we felt like she'd been a bit taken advantage of because she didn't seem... He was asking all sorts of things. You know, who's that famous American psychiatrist? It was with him. He's got that massive series. I'm just remembering it now.
So you're not thinking of the woman from The Shining? We watched her being interviewed. Where she was bullied by him. He was horrible.
No, it shouldn't. It was
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil. No, I don't think it was Dr. Phil. I think it was that. But anyway, I remember again that vulnerability and that fragility, and also her honesty about.
And as Wonder Woman says, a fantastic sense of humour. I mean, I mean, gross generalisation, but what Irish person doesn't have a great sense of humour? I mean, it really. Little details. I didn't realise that Nothing Compares to You was written by Prince.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard.
And if you think about the song, you can kind of imagine him performing it. So she's very much of a time. She's very much of a time.
Was it you, Clodagh, that I saw something going up there saying that you see her regularly in your coffee shop?
Oh, look, Clodagh, yeah, one of our late show hosts who's now died was very good to her. And he interviewed her loads of times, but helped her privately. Oh.
Just blooming sad. Just so blooming sad. What a very difficult life she led to you know, that talent and to have that success, you know, coming from where she came from was extraordinary. But obviously she just, But
also she very much clearly, I felt, came from a background and a time and a part of music where she wasn't wanting success for success's sake. She was an artist. She was a deeply sensitive, fragile individual. And I think the way in which, if deeply sensitive, fragile people become famous, say for their art, their creativity, whatever, and then they start to struggle because of that fragility, mainstream culture tends to just characterize them as mad, bad, or eccentric and dismissible. And I unfortunately have to say that whilst there's going to be obviously an outpouring of emotion and support for her, there has been understanding over the years, but not from everyone. You know, a lot of people simply wanted to kind of portray her as this. And I think it's a salutary lesson when we talk about people like Britney and other kind of major stars that one's careful. Do you know what I mean? About how you deal with it.
I turned from Dublin, this one here.
Sorry.
And I can tell you as a nation we're devastated. She was
Sharon
a brave, strong woman. She embodied what it was to be Irish. She was loved by us all. Oh, it makes me cry.
We are all in shock.
It makes me cry.
I mean,
what a lovely thing to say.
She's almost, dare I use the language, if you think of her music and her and what she was obviously feeling, there's something like a patron saint aspect to her. I can see her becoming, like so many great writers and artists and Irish artists, I can see her becoming an absolute, or if she's not already, a massive, you know, she's just a hugely important Irish person. Oh, look, Zoe Agnew, here we go. Did you say you feel lost? I feel so sad.
Yeah.
It is so sad. So sad.
It's funny, God, isn't it weird how life is? Because we're all sitting, I can see lots of comments going up there saying how shocked they are, and yet it always, for so long now, it's felt like the writing on the wall, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think when I read it, it's like I texted my mum and I said it, and she said, "Was it an overdose, love?" And it was just like that. That's the first. We don't know,
anything,
but that was
yeah.
the first. That was the first thing. Anyway, you know, so that news broke. Earlier in the day, Kevin Spacey. Now, the reason I really wanted to talk about Kevin Spacey, we mentioned this on the Popcorn Junkies, he's been cleared of all 9 charges. He was at Southwark Crown Court. 9 charges from 4 men that the Crown Prosecution Service took forward because they felt there was enough evidence and they felt that, you know, there was a compelling reason to charge him. He's been cleared of all of them. A jury found him innocent. As I understand it, I think there was something like 20 or many more other charges originally that were dropped by the CPS due to a lack of evidence. There's also the publicised case of Anthony Rapp, was it, the actor in America who brought the civil case against him, and Anthony Rapp lost that too. 2 of the people that lost the case today, essentially, are also bringing a civil case against Kevin Spacey. But that's in doubt, given the fact that the verdict was so obviously in favour of Kevin Spacey. And Ross Souch, you kind of sum up what I wonder whether a lot of people are feeling this. I'm not sure how I feel about the verdict. I've seen online people I know, people I don't know, lots of people saying this is absolutely outrageous. And for me, this story, obviously that's the story. He's been cleared, he's been acquitted. His life, as he describes it, came to a standstill in 2017. He was summarily fired from House of Cards, his Netflix series. He's been asked or charged or needs to pay something like 25 million in damages back to Netflix. He's got all sorts of court fees for breaking the code of conduct as they saw it in his work. So the big question mark is, and that's what's interesting, I think the only thing now that appears to have stuck to him is the Netflix decision that he broke their code of conduct. I think the devil is in the detail. If their code of conduct was structured like in many contracts it can be, that he brought the programme into disrepute due to his behaviour elsewhere and all these other allegations, it could be an interesting moment for Kevin Spacey and Netflix in that legally he hasn't now. Legally, he's brought nothing into disrepute. And so we have this curious situation where you have a man who's been found innocent. Lots and lots of people just don't believe it. And of course, when one has to say that just because someone is found innocent, so many miscarriages of justice can happen both ways. You know, people can be found guilty and then later be found to be innocent. And likewise, people can be guilty of something and are wrongly found innocent. But how does it leave you feeling, guys?
I'm thinking about, there's a lot of people that have brought charges, haven't they, for accusations. And like you say, miscarriages of justice can go both ways. He's been found innocent, so that's what we accept. But I'm just thinking about those people that did accuse and how they're feeling today. Because what if they don't believe the judgment? What if they truly it is very hard, isn't it?
Someone asking, do we know
an awful lot of people.
What?
That have made accusations.
No, I know. And as I just mentioned before, and it was 20 people came forward, and only so many. The point is, lots of people came forward. The Crown Prosecution Service themselves went through a process of deciding, well, this many feel like a potential, illegality or illegal act has been, done. But okay, I'm just going to be. He made a lot of people's professional time on Baby Driver 2017 a hellish experience, did he?
Well, there was all the bullying.
Really?
Claims. It's just interesting watching the comments go up here. It's it's like he doesn't have a single fan.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And at one point,
someone was just asking,
we were obsessed with the series that he was in.
House of Cards, it was
fantastic.
fantastic.
I remember when we were over the moon when he came to run the Old Vic. We thought, wow, this is going to be. He's smart. He's talented.
Elton John did testify for him.
But like you said, it was on a sort of detail.
Elton John didn't testify in a sort of big, Kevin's a brilliant guy. It was around a Mini. It was around a Mini car that he parked in his garage, and whether he was there and whether he was at a ball.
Mark Clodra's was a good actor, but never liked him. Creepy man, says Tina.
Wow.
I've never seen so many people. I've not seen one.
Wonder Woman
Stuart liked him.
Wonder Woman says Lorraine said he was the worst guest she ever had.
Really?
That's interesting. I mean,
What rude.
Stuart Hannah, homophobia again. Okay, let me throw this kind of parallel or comparison, which is what I was thinking about when I heard the story. I mean, if someone's found innocent and it doesn't change either opinions on them or the sense that they are then entitled to, I don't know, resurrect their career or relaunch his career or what have you.
Yes, he was, Leslie, found innocent in America as well. Thank you, yeah.
If being found innocent doesn't allow you to, restructure and resurrect your career, what is the point?
Well, the problem with this is, and that's why I'm interested in it, it seems that there's very, very few people that seem pleased about this, or is it, that is the risk, isn't it? As a performer, as an actor, it will be down to whether people want to watch you or not. And, if he's he's been found innocent, he's not guilty. Therefore, absolutely, technically, he should have his job back,
Well,
100%, but it's not going to work like that.
Well, as Vanessa Wilde says, I think this is something you kind of inferred earlier, Nads. Given the low prosecution rate of rape, not being found guilty in court only means not enough evidence beyond reasonable doubt. It does not necessarily mean innocence is proven. See, this is the thing. I mean, the comparison I was going to use was Johnny Depp. Because I do think that what happens, and I think there's a book out at the moment called Monster, and I think they've serialised it for Radio 4. Mum, I think you were listening to it, and Annie Dye was listening to it. And this book is about the way in which we can all selectively give certain people that we feel an attachment to a free pass, or if not a free pass, we can fudge it a bit and go, okay, yeah, all right, but, and, is there an argument that we felt very differently about Johnny Depp? Why did we feel differently about Johnny Depp?
Yeah, Johnny Depp has always been very loved, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, if he is a horrible person, if he is a bully, if he's all these things, it doesn't mean that he is also a sexual predator.
No,
because you're an unpleasant person doesn't. But unfortunately, in the world of showbiz, if people aren't going to pay to watch your face, then you're finished. Well, I suspect he's not going to be able to make a comeback.
No, I think what he'll do, if I'm honest, I don't necessarily think Johnny Depp will be able to step, but there are really, really, really soundings at the moment about a new Pirates of the Caribbean film.
I think he'll come back.
I think Kevin Spacey will have to be pushed towards more indie stuff, and I think that will suit him, and he'll be satisfied with that. I think he'll just find kind of, But I don't want to. I'm throwing this out there. I'm being purposefully provocative. Could it be that Johnny Depp is heterosexual and Kevin Spacey is homosexual? Could it be that
I think it's because people really disliked Amber Heard.
Yeah,
and I think that there weren't multiple accusations. Was there with Johnny Depp? There's only Amber Heard.
I think he punched an assistant director or floor stage manager in the face, or a stunt coordinator in the face. Broke his nose. I think that was another case. But that, everyone has a bit of a fight on a set. But you see, already, the way I'm talking, it's like, give them a pass.
It's totally outrageous.
But I think it's interesting.
Somebody in the face is disgusting.
But it resurrects things like, Roman Polanski, director. He had, rape, statutory rape. Woody Allen, hasn't been found guilty of anything. But the
what
feeling
was that weird video?
is...
Zoe said, do you remember that weird video?
Yeah, Elliot Gonzalez has mentioned. Remember his "Let Me Be Frank"? Wasn't he sat on a bench in the park?
Yes.
And we reacted to it.
He was using his character Frank, but he was
Yeah.
Yes, it was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what tipped people more away from him.
Yeah. Good point, Amy May. And believe me, this is exactly what I was saying in the Philip Schofield scandal. I don't think all accusations and negative feelings towards homosexual people can be put down to homophobia. No, I said I was being provocative. I don't necessarily think that's the case at all. I do think what's the case with Kevin Spacey is that there is as you rightly see in the field, there's a feeling of discomfort around it.
It's a likability factor. The
it.
likability factor Johnny Depp has always had. And so people, like you say, you lean to make excuses for people that seem nicer. You just do. And it's human, isn't it?
That's a good point.
I don't reckon we'll be seeing him back on the screens.
No.
Unless in some really low-budget
Esoteric
indie.
sort of
And he's
weird.
a damn fine actor.
He's a very good
such
actor.
a shame.
And he's played actually a lot of
him.
sleazy characters. I sometimes wonder whether he's methoded himself into sleaziness and that persona comes across. And don't forget, someone mentioned there, his dad was a white supremacist and neo-Nazi. So, his background...
Was he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, his father was the most ferocious, vicious, brute of a man. Yeah, a proper white supremacist.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So,
That's right, because the brother, he never mentioned it, but the brother came out and told,
That's right.
oh, that's right, he had a horrendous childhood.
Horrific. Yeah.
Absolutely horrific.
That doesn't excuse... he hasn't done anything legally.
For me, it makes a difference because I think if you've been blessed not to go through a brutal childhood, how can you say that you would be what sort of person you would be? And I've always said this thing: at what age do we run out of sympathy for yes, because he never even spoke about it, did he? It was his brother.
Right, I just want to read this comment. It's a complaint, but I want to read this out. Leon Agnew. I don't know why the Kevin Spacey news is the top story. It wasn't actually. It was Sinead O'Connor. And not the fact that Congress has held a hearing about the US government covering up UFOs. It's really weird that you should mention that because it was a story that didn't really quite feel like it was showbiz news. But you're right. Just quickly, a member of the Pentagon... Huh?
It's not showbiz.
No, I just wanted... But Leon was asking why we didn't mention it, but because he's mentioned
we were on Coffee Moaning
I just wanted to mention quickly, yes, a Pentagon official has stated or suggested that people have been murdered by the American government to cover up UFO news. That is what's been inferred in a congressional hearing today. So I just wanted to share. We have seen that story.
We will go into it tomorrow.
I'll have a look into it properly tomorrow. Okay, moving on.
This is just showbiz news.
So Oppenheimer, this is the story of... I don't know if anyone's seen Oppenheimer. Our review is up on the channel. It was a mixed bag. I mean, so much to like, but not... I didn't feel as unreservedly excited about it as I was hoping to. Look, tributes pouring in for Sinead O'Connor, just headlines coming up all the time. It's just so sad.
It's just so sad. So sad, isn't it?
Yeah. So Lee Durrant, you're seeing it on Saturday night. We won't do any spoilers, but one kind of semi-spoiler, but it isn't really a spoiler, is that Florence Pugh is very naked in this film.
She's naked the entire time she's on screen, isn't she?
Not the entire time, but most of her scenes pivot around her nudity. And there's a particular scene which I thought was so badly executed. I have to say, I think Christopher Nolan just cannot do romance, love, or write for women characters at all. Reese Roberts. Yep, you and me, Mark, completely agree on the atrocious portrayal of the women in the film. Just diabolical, wasn't it, Reese? She's having sex and she leaps up mid-sex in a totally unsort of realistic fashion, launches herself at his bookshelf, pulls a book off, which I'm trying to remember
pulls a book out.
Well, pulls a book out of the shelf. It's an important book within the Hindu religion, almost like the Quran or something like that, and quotes from it. This has caused sensational upset in India with the...
How would the filmmakers not think that would?
Yeah.
Was that was it necessary?
Well, it was so... I was screaming out with absolute horror because I thought it was done so badly.
But what would be the necessity?
She picks up the Bhagavad Gita, one of Hinduism's holy scriptures,
and
it has
terrible.
the quote in it that's at the beginning of the film, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," which allegedly Oppenheimer was thinking about.
Why does she have to be naked?
Why does she have to be naked?
Offensive.
Anyway, so this is the story that in certain countries like India, Indonesia, and I think in the Middle East too, her nudity scenes, she's been covered up with a black dress, a CGI black dress. The rights and wrongs of this, I think you have to kind of accommodate the sensitivities of another culture.
Of course you do. I mean, but why? But why was it that particular book, and why did you have to be naked?
That particular book was the book from which the main quote that Oppenheimer allegedly had moving through his head at the time that he saw the bomb explode. And was there any necessity that she was naked? Absolutely none. So it's goading. And it's about getting press, and it's about getting, chatter about the film. And I think at the cost, if that is somebody's religion, that can be incredibly hurtful. Not only goading, but on Saturday, Saturday just gone, India's Information Commissioner Uday Maherkar issued a statement saying that the scene was a direct assault on religious beliefs of 1 billion tolerant Hindus and likened it to waging a war on the Hindu community. Now, this was a scene, I didn't even think about the contentiousness of her picking up the book. It was just the nudity. Those actors, I'm really surprised because they're very, Cillian Murphy, they're very, very clued up people. I'm surprised they didn't. Well, it's just so badly executed. Would this be offensive? Yeah. So anyway, so if you see the film in any of those countries, she's covered up. She's not nude. So you will see. I think they're gratuitous scenes. I don't think they're necessary. I don't think they're needed. Obviously, Florence Pugh wouldn't have done them. She didn't feel they were necessary. My hunch is, I don't know if yours is, Reese, that loads of scenes were left on the cutting room floor, and actually she had many other scenes, and it just is a shame. Imagine if that's happened. I would be incandescent of Florence. If everything that I've got clothes on is cut out, and then that also I think is quite dangerous for the actress to get the actress to Yeah. And finally on that, what's doubly kind of infuriating, I think, for film purists is that Christopher Nolan champions the fact that he doesn't do CGI, and now they've CGI'd a black dress on her. So and we love Florence Pugh. I think she's really such a great actress and a great woman. And just quickly, just the final news story, or showbiz story we're going to talk about was Ariana Grande. This is Ariana Grande's new boyfriend or new partner, Ethan Slater, who she's met whilst filming they're doing 2 movies back to back of Wicked, the musical. Can't say I was a massive fan. And she, and this is a story that's sort of floating around about, and what do you think of this? That Ethan Slater entered a relationship with Ariana Grande, but told his wife only 2 days before it went public. And his wife is said to have been completely blindsided. Was that a considerate way to break the news or not? I thought she was married as well. No, she's in the middle of a divorce, isn't she? Oh, is she? Oh. I just think, having been on a lot of film sets, my dad's an actor, so growing up, as a young, I won't name any of the famous people or the films or whatever, but you would, as a young person, as a child, we would be going, but isn't she married? And I think it's such a scary thing to be married to an actor, and because there is that, what's it called? What happens on location stays in location. I just think it must be incredibly painful for her. Yeah, I agree. Apparently, she knew, she had no inkling. Very happy marriage. I just think it's really sad. And I think when it's got to be played out... And she just had a baby as well. Oh, God. And when it's got to be played out in public, I think if he'd given her a bit more time, she could have perhaps, positioned herself and taken sort of preemptive kind of moves in terms of the press coverage and all that kind of stuff. I think just launching it on her is a bit horrible. Anyway. Okay, well, there's your showbiz news. Keep your thoughts coming in. Pop your thoughts down below. And as Nadia says, go on, Tony. Sorry. And just a final word on Sinead, and let's hope that she is at peace, because my God, she tried so hard in this very brutal world as a really sensitive being to get through one day at a time, and let's just hope she's at peace. Yeah, absolutely. Guys, have a lovely evening, and we'll see you in the morning.